Now, what is the difference between absorption costing and marginal costing? Let me call this tab absorption costing, and I will duplicate that, and that is going to be called marginal costing. In marginal costing, we say that now fixed overhead are not based on anything. Yeah, they are fixed. Actual figure that we paid, of course, that's actual figure. We've paid that, we see the invoice, so we cannot do anything with that. But as for fixed overheads, according to that flexed budget, it will still be 3,000. We will not flex it, we will not update it on the quantity of sales and the volume of sales. As such, when we calculate net profit per unit, instead we are going to say net contribution per unit. Contribution is the difference between price and variable costs. Variable costs are all except for fixed costs. And as such, this net contribution per unit will not include any overhead absorption rate. Actually, there will just not be any overhead absorption rate. And as such, as there is no overhead absorption rate, you will see that efficiency and capacity variance, they just equal to 0. And you might be puzzled, oh, why? What does it mean? Is it correct? Is it not? Well, that is absolutely correct. When we have marginal costing, we do not have either efficiency or capacity variance. So the total variance for fixed overhead is going to be equal expenditure variance, and expenditure variance is going to be equal 3750. And flexed budget is going to be, the flexed budget profit is going to be 44,000. But the rest, you will see, is absolutely the same. So, for example, our reconciliation over actual profit are the same. Nothing has changed. And the rest of the variances are the same. They were not dependent on overhead absorption rate. So that is the difference between marginal costing and absorption costing and your budgeting. And to revise that even further, let us talk about the logical difference between marginal costing and absorption costing, how it can be tested in advanced performance management. Well, as for calculations, again, in June 2023, people were complaining that some of them got a variant where there was a question that asked to calculate many variances, even idle time variance. Well, deal with those people, because that was something that was very unexpected to do. If you are asked to calculate variances, of course, you need to do that in your spreadsheets, and you need to make calculations that link to the cells so that they can be reviewed easily. But most likely that the majority of marks are going to be given not for calculation, but for explanation. So for some reason you've forgotten how to calculate the variances, we'll just calculate something and then talk about that. And the logics of the variances is that we find out who is responsible for the success of the filer, of the changes between budgeted figures and actual figures, and our budget is going to be always flexed. While sales volume variance has changed in this case, well, it has changed because sales volume variance states that net effect of changes in volume. So in absorption costing, volume impacted net profit. That included overhead absorption, fixed overhead absorption. But as we have marginal costing in here, we do not have fixed overhead absorbed, and as such, we will find out what is the value of volume variance based on net contribution and not net profit per unit. That's why that changed. And again, what else has changed? Profit has changed, Some of variances, this variances has changed. So let me just highlight that with blue. Okay, now what are the benefits and drawbacks of marginal costing and absorption costing? Marginal costing allows you to, is very useful when we have one-off decisions, because if a decision is a one-off, so for example, whether to sell something to a customer, then what we really care is some incremental costs that are variable costs. But in long term, we need to account for the fact that we use fixed costs, such as rent, such as fixed electricity, and so on. And in this case, absorption costing is going to be better, is going to be more relevant. In questions, what you might have is that a company has two divisions, and the division is arguing that when they buy something from their sister division, they are charging the price based on absorption costing, and they do not want to pay for that because it is not incremental to the decision to buy, and you will need to say why it would be logical to do and why it would not be logical to do. As for the budgets themselves, so just to sum up what kind of budgets we have. We have fixed budget. Fixed budget means that quantity doesn't change. And this budget, the main benefit of it is that it is very easy. So you always know what amount to take for revenue, for materials, and so on. This budget can be useful only for several departments or for several lines of P&L that do not change much dependent on the volume. So, for example, when we talk about normal company, well, probably the administrative expense, the expense on accounting team is going to be measured based on fixed values. So it's going to be fixed budget because their work does not really depend on the quantity of output. Flexed budget is the budget that takes into account the actual items reduced. And that would be especially relevant when we talk about variances, and that is the budget that is used in practice most often. Budget can be called flexible. Flexible budget is something very different, so I'm going to drag it away. Why? Because flexible budgeting is not for control purposes. It's more like scenarios for planning. So flexible budget means what is going to be the budget if the output is like that, if the output is like that, if materials price is like that. So these are the budgets that change depending on the changes of, based on changes of variables, and as such, this is flexible. This flexible budget is used only for planning purposes, for risk management purposes. So, for example, best case scenario, worst case scenario, and not for control purposes. Now, when we talk about the logics of how we make budgets, it can be incremental versus rolling budget. And the incremental rolling versus rolling budget, the questions that ask like that, they kind of assume that budget, that incremental budget is set at the start of the year and doesn't change. And rolling budget, it's contradicting incremental budget in the in this aspect of change. So updated regularly. Incremental budget can be tested as the opposite of zero-based budgeting. So incremental budgeting is when we add or subtract a bit and slack is preserved, and zero-based budgeting is when we prepare packages and need to prove every expense included. let me give you a little bit granularity about zero-based budgeting. So, for example, when we talk about capital expenditure budgeting, it works very well with zero-based budgeting because there is no pattern that can be used to make it incremental, and different packages are prepared. So, for example, base case, when we just substitute the machinery that was depreciated with the machinery of more or less the same characteristics, and that is going to cost us, let's say, $1 million. But we can actually buy machinery that is going to be automated, and it will allow us to produce more and faster and so on, and that is going to be to cost us let's say $1,200,000. Alternatively, we can substitute this machinery with some new machinery that can combine several functions, and that would impact on our revenues like that, and that is going to cost us, let's say, $2 million. So different packages are prepared, and then these packages are authorized or not authorized. Or packages can be prepared for the same problem. So, for example, when we tell people, okay, we're going to introduce improvements, so please come up with the budgets of how you can do that. And let's say HR comes with the budget and they say, well, you need to spend 10,000 on employees training. Education department comes and say, you need to spend 10,000 on training, and that will allow you to reduce waste by 2%. And HR department says, well, we need to hire more qualified employees. That would cost us by 20,000 more annually, but that will allow us to reduce rates, the waste rate by 4%. It will also allow us to increase output by that much. Or capital expenditure team comes and they say, well, how about we just introduce machinery that will reduce the need of labor, or will have some built-in checks, and that would cost us that much. And these different departments are going to compete for the budget, who's going to win. And finally, beyond budgeting is the budgeting concept that says that we should not be squeezed into this 12-month period, and we need to actually look at what we want to achieve. So, for example, we do not make budgets, annual budgets. Instead, we say that we work in projects. And let's say now we have a project to win this region, and we have targets. So instead of just revenue and cost of sales, we have a target that is, let's say, average rate per user, or quantity of users, or customer base increase, or brand loyalty, or whatever. And we work for that. Of course, beyond budgeting still requires some sort of budgeting, because we need to keep covenants to still have our loan money given to us, or not to upset shareholders too much, but still beyond budgeting kind of thinks about the planning process as not keeping to P&L, but instead be based on the projects and agility. And it uses the concept of rolling budget a lot, based on, and this rolling budgets will be based on individual projects most likely. Okay, so that is it about budget.